Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone out there. I hope you all are safe and studying well. As you all know, we have been doing the elective English syllabus for intermediate second year students. We had completed the first poem and we had started with the second poem that was On Time by John Milton. In the last two lectures, we had completed the explanation of the poem On Time, and today we will do a quick discussion of the question answers given towards the end of the poem. So let's begin. There are three questions as you can see. If you do not have the books, please look at the screens because the questions are there as well. So there are three questions, and the first question says, why has the poet pitted the flight of time against the lazy leaden stepping hours and the heavy plummet space? So it is asking that even though we say that time flies, why has the poet put the two opposite ideas together? That is, on the one hand, he says that time is flying, fly envious time, you remember? And on the other hand, he is saying that its pace is leaden, that is, the movement of time is very slow, it is very heavy. So, the answer to this can be derived from our own experience with time. You must have noticed that although we generally say that time passes by quickly, or time flies quickly, or years fly quickly, you must have noticed that when we want it really to pass by, that is, when we really want the time to pass, it doesn't pass, okay? It feels like the time is dragging, okay, and it is moving as slow as possible when we want it to move fast, when we are excited about something, okay. When we are excited about something that is going to happen in the future, what do we say? I just wish this time would have vanished and we would have reached out to that occasion, okay, or something like that. So when we want the time to pass quickly, it appears to be dragging, while when we desire the time to linger, to wait, to stay, to move slow, what happens? It passes by quickly. It flies. Okay? So, this is the opposite that happens with us in our daily lives, that happens to us as a paradox, because when we are having something great at the moment, when we are enjoying the moment, when we are having fun with friends, we are having a quality time with our family, what do we like? We like the time to pass slowly so that we can enjoy every bit of it, but time seems to be passing very quickly at that point of time, and when we are desiring it to move fast as possible, because the time that we are suffering is not good, is not pleasant, or we are waiting for something in future, then time appears to drag. So this complex situation, this opposite situation, is something that is hinted at over here. So the answer would be that this is the reason why the poet has pitted time against heavy plummet space and lazy leaden hours. Okay, so I hope the answer is clear. Now, moving on to question number two, it says, what are the things associated with the temporal and what are associated with eternal? So, first of all, let us understand what is temporal and eternal. These two are opposite words. While temporal means something that has a limited time span, eternal means something that is timeless. Okay? While temporal means something that has a limited time span, eternal means something that is timeless. So while temporal is limited to this world, to this earth, eternal goes beyond this world. Okay? So the question asks that in this poem On Time, what is being called temporal, or is being associated with this idea of temporal and what is eternal. So, if you have followed the lectures, if you have read the poem and reflected upon it or by your own self, then you would know that the poet calls this human body, our human body, this world around us, as temporal. He calls the world temporal, the human body as temporal. Okay. Why? Because one day it is going to die. Even we are going to die, our body is going to decay, and the things around us also die. Nothing is permanent, nothing is forever in this world. Okay. As we say, only the good actions, the good souls are there that are going to live forever. So, the everything that we see around us, every material thing, that is going to be destroyed. So we say that this world is temporal, the human body is temporal, and opposite to this, the poet calls the human soul, the good deeds, the good values like love, peace, justice, honesty, harmony, etc., as eternal. So, according to the poet, God is eternal, His kingdom is eternal. And when we will see that kingdom of God? Only after we die. So, these are the things that he has associated with the temporal, the body and the world around us. And what he has associated with the eternal is the human soul and all the good things, all the good values, the abstract things that we do not see with our eyes. We can only feel them, okay? So I hope this is clear. Moving on to the last question. It says, what guides human souls towards divinity? Who is the final winner in this race against time? So the answer to this would be that the eternity guides human souls towards divinity. What is divinity? Divinity comes from the word divine. And what is divine? Divine is something associated with God, something associated with heaven, something associated not with this human world. Okay? So divine is something out of this world. So the question is asking that what guides the human souls towards divinity, towards God? So the answer would be that when we die, our body is decomposed, and then the human souls that are immortal, that remain alive forever, those human souls are guided by their good actions. Those good souls are guided by their good actions towards God, towards the kingdom of God, and eternity guides us in that path towards divinity. Okay? So, God, who is all pervasive, omnipotent, He guides us to a life where there is love, joy, peace, harmony, and all the good things. Okay? So, God is also guiding us. Eternity is guiding us towards God, towards divinity. It is all through the desire of God that we are guided towards the good. Okay? So it is the guidance of God that we need the most. So according to Milton, the final winner in this race. See, there is a second question. So the answer to that would be that according to Milton, the final winner in this race against time is not time, it is human beings. I told you in the beginning of the poem that there is a race between us and time as to who is going to win, and ultimately it seems that time has won. So the poet says in these two lines, so little is our loss, so little is thy gain. So although we die, what is the truth? The truth is that we lose very little and time gains very little. So in this race, ultimately the winner is the human being, because our souls are immortal. Whereas, according to the poet, one day time will also die. Time will also annihilate itself. If God, because God will desire time to end itself, God will lead to the death of time. God will lead time to it towards its death. Okay, so basically, time is also going to die, but the human soul, that is never going to die. That is going to live through eternity. So because after this world time will end, humans will be reborn. and they will live forever and ever in God's kingdom. So we are the winner. Humans are the winner in this race against time. So this was the last question. And with this, we come to the end of this question answer session. I hope the answers are clear. And if not, then if you have any doubts, if you have any other questions, or if you have framed any other questions that you would like me to answer, then please feel free to write them down in the comments, okay, so that I can answer them. So, hopefully, in the next lecture, we will start with a new poem by the same poet, John Milton, because two of his poems have been prescribed in your syllabus for elective. The other poem is on Shakespeare by Milton. So, in the next lecture, hopefully, we will start with on Shakespeare. Until then, I request you to read that poem and this poem and reflect upon both of them. So, until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you and see you.